So are we ready to start?
We're ready.
Okay, good. I guess everyone's showing up. Hello, and thank you for showing up. I'd like to welcome you here. My name's Lou Ryan. It's nice to see all of you here. I'd not only like to welcome you here, I'd actually like to congratulate you for joining us today. Now, people often wonder why I do this. I mean, why I congratulate them for coming. I see this, why is he congratulating me for coming to a webinar? It's kind of like that look on their face, you know? Well, the reason I always do this is because, believe it or not, showing up at one of these webinars is a tough thing to do. I've been giving these programs for nearly 30 years, and for the first 20 years, the seminars were actually held live in a room, not over the internet. We'd run ads in the newspaper and on television, and people would call to register. Well, over 50% of the people that registered and said they were coming never showed up. In fact, in the early days, we'd look outside the office just before the introduction would start, and we'd see the same cars driving around and around and around and around. I'm sure it was people trying to decide whether or not they should actually come in. But the reality is nothing's really changed since then, because over 50% of the people who register for this online webinar, that's right, they don't show up either. You see, to actually come to one of these sessions takes bravery, and more important than that, a true desire to end the slavery of cigarettes. And it's especially tough for us guys. Listen, I know. I smoked for over 16 years, and to even admit that I smoked was hard enough, but to admit that I couldn't quit, that I couldn't do it by myself, was especially hard for us to acknowledge. Us guys I'm talking about. So that's why I congratulate you. It means that you think highly enough about your health and about your future to get some health. You see, there's actually 4 steps to stopping smoking. First one's really easy. I did it hundreds of times, and I'm sure you've done it hundreds of times, and that's thinking about stopping. I thought about it, I think, the first time 15 years before I actually quit. I knew that I would quit as soon as I made up my mind, got up enough determination, and was ready. But the problem was, every time I thought about it, I wasn't ready. You see, when it comes to addictions, you're never ready. There's no right time. That's the nature of addictions. The second step is more difficult than thinking about it, and I presume it's the step that you took today. And step number 2 is acknowledging that you're addicted. That's right, acknowledging that you're addicted and you really don't know how to quit. So you begin to look for a way. You are addicted, you know that, don't you? Well, you are. It took me a long time before I was willing to acknowledge this and get some help. For me to acknowledge that cigarettes were more important than the quality of my life and my health, it was difficult. And it's really strange too when I think about it now, because in other areas of my life, I would get help. I'd go to a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a bookkeeper, any area that I wasn't an expert in that I needed help in. So this is one of the reasons that step number 2 is difficult. Now, step number 3 in stopping is probably the most difficult one of all. The third step in stopping smoking is to make a commitment. That's right. Commitment to do whatever it takes to handle the smoking issue once and for all. To stop putting it off, to stop spinning our wheels. And that's not easy. And that's why only a small percentage of people who really want to quit are here today. I'll share with you a little bit later in this seminar today how I finally took this most important step. Well, I told you that there were 4 steps. I might as well review the 4th as well. The 4th step is the actual process of becoming an ex-smoker. And believe it or not, it's not as difficult as you might think once you've learned how, and also learned why you failed in the past. Once you've learned how and why you failed in the past, quitting is actually a pretty easy thing to do. But the key word here is learn. That's right. Stopping smoking is a learning process. A lot of times people say, well, what's there to learn? It doesn't seem like there's so much to learn. I mean, you got a cigarette here, you got a match here. What's there to learn? I mean, non-smokers, they tell us, well, just don't light up. You and I, we know it's not that simple. But it's like that old saying, it's what you don't know that you don't know that stands in the way from you achieving your goals and objectives in life. Actually, when it comes to stopping smoking, there's a lot to learn. What I'm going to do now is as we go through the rest of this webinar, I'm going to be doing it via PowerPoint. So let's go ahead and switch to that. Most people believe that it takes willpower, guts, and determination to stop smoking. It doesn't. That's a mistaken belief. People who quit smoking using guts, willpower, and determination are generally smoking again within 3 days to 6 months. My willpower was so weak that I rarely could last 48 hours. You see, willpower is like holding a 5-pound weight over your head. Really easy at first, but it becomes like the weight of the world after a very short period of time. Absolutely impossible to sustain for anyone, regardless of their size and strength. You see, there are actually 10 things that people do when trying to quit smoking that absolutely guarantees their failure. I call them success crushers. Any one of them can sabotage success. Using willpower is numero uno, success crusher. Number 1, absolutely fatal. Today, in this introduction to the Living Free program for smokers, I'm going to share with you the others as well. And by the end of the hour, you'll be very, very clear as to the reasons that you failed in the past and what it takes to be successful at quitting for good. Finally, you'll be absolutely clear as to whether or not you're going to be ready to tackle this tough goal and win. You see, there are 2 addictions when it comes to smoking: a physical addiction and a psychological addiction. In the second email that I sent you, I asked you a pop quiz question, right? It said, when it comes to tobacco, which addiction do you think is greater, the physical or the mental? Most all of you said mental, and you know what? You're all right. 90% of the difficulty comes from the psychological part of the addiction, and at this point in time, you don't really understand what that's all about. See, psychological refers to what goes on in our heads, up here in our heads. And once you learn what goes on up here, becoming an ex-smoker is really a pretty easy thing to do. Now, I know at this point you most likely don't believe a bit of that, and I understand that. It's hard to prove to your doubters that an addiction is mental. Let me see if I can sway you a little bit. Most likely you've tried to quit before, right? Let's see if you can relate to this very typical experience of mine in trying to stop. I think I mentioned earlier that I was a Sunday night quitter. I would always get prepared for Sunday on Saturday night by smoking 2 or 3 times more than I usually did. On Sunday, I'd have anywhere between 5 or 10 cigarettes left in the pack, and I'd smoke them very carefully throughout the day until I got down to the last one, and I'd smoke that last one down past the filter and then reluctantly put it out. But when I did, I felt really good. I felt very confident that I was going to be starting a new life. What a great way to start the week as a non-smoker, I'd say. And I felt terrific for about an hour and a half. After an hour and a half went by, I'd start to get nervous and frustrated and antsy. An hour and a half after that, I felt like I lost my best friend. I felt denied, deprived, and if I made it through the first night, by 10 o'clock in the morning, I was so irritable and grouchy that people in my office were offering me cigarettes. That's right, they'd rather have me smoke than experience how I was acting. By the afternoon, I was nervous, so nervous. I had so much anxiety that I'd literally be pacing the floor, making periodic beelines to the office refrigerator. I want you to know, not too popular because most of the munchies were other people's. But that was the reality of it. On top of that, there was happy hour. And how could I make it through the staff meetings with cigarettes going around the table in the morning? Remember, this was 35 years ago? Yeah, we actually did smoke at meetings. By 10 o'clock the next morning, I bummed my first hit. By 11 o'clock, I bummed my first cigarette. And by noontime, I bought a fresh new pack. I'm sure that many of you, or even all of you, can relate to these feelings of nervousness, frustration, denial, deprivation, irritability, anxiety, and even the hunger part. How many of you feel that it would be easier to quit without experiencing these feelings? I can imagine most of you are probably nodding your heads. Of course the answer is going to be it would be a lot easier if you didn't feel denied, if you didn't miss your cigarettes, if you didn't feel deprived. Remember I said there's 2 parts to the smoking addiction, a little bit physical and a lot mental. 90% of these negative emotional and physical feelings actually come from the mental part of the addiction. Now, I know it feels physical, but bear with me. Let me explain. The experiences that we have in life, the way that you experience life, the way that I experience life, comes from our perspective and our perception of life. That's right. Let me give you an example. Let's say you were to go home tonight, expecting nobody to be at home, and you open the door, and before you turned on the light, you heard footsteps running across the kitchen floor. What might your experience be? What would your mind be telling you? You'd be feeling fear, anxiety, nervousness. You'd probably have sweaty palms, your heart rate would go up, you'd have a cold sweat, you'd have maybe tight muscles in your stomach. You'd actually be having a physical reaction, yet nothing actually happened to you. The feelings that you were having would come from what you perceived or believed might happen. Isn't that right? Of course it is. You see, the subconscious part of your mind flipped a switch that said, danger, danger, alert, alert, and started sending messages to your body to react. That's why you had sweaty palms and butterflies and tight muscles, dilated pupils, and so on. The feelings and the emotions were the result of your perspective and perception of what was going on in your house. Now, once you turned on the light and you saw the truth that it was your neighbor's dog, what happens to the feelings? Yeah, the feelings and the emotions, they dissipate, they go away. Likewise, deep within your addictive mind are beliefs and thoughts that start working on you whenever you even think about quitting smoking. That's why people don't show up, because just thinking about coming to one of these seminars, that addictive mind starts to work and they get nervous and fearful and anxious. The feelings of nervousness and frustration and denial and deprivation and irritability and anxiety are all a result of your perspective and your perception. That is your beliefs and your thinking. So just like with the footsteps in the kitchen, in this program, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to turn on the lights for you so that you can see the truth. And once you understand the truth about why you smoke and why you haven't been able to quit, those feelings will go away and you're going to have an experience unlike any other one you've done before when you've tried to quit. Your experience of becoming an ex-smoker will be both positive and empowering. In the Full Living Free program, you're going to learn how to realign your way of thinking so that you stopping smoking will be an experience that will have no negative physical or emotional feelings associated with it. You're not going to have any of those feelings that you had before. Listen, hard to believe the program works. Over 1,000 people a week take it. I've been a lifestyle management specialist for over 30 years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm an expert in this area. Over 200 large companies right now, today, and major insurance companies use our programs for their members and their employees. The BBB, in other words, the Better Business Bureau, they rate our company and our programs as A+. And there's only one reason for that. This approach works. And secondly, people love the program. 93% of the people that take our program say they would refer the program to friends and family. But I want you to know something. There's no magic associated with this. It's a learning process. Now, I know you're probably wondering at this point in time if you've got what it takes. Well, let's find out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share some guidelines for success with you that are really important for you to be willing to follow if you're going to be successful. If you're willing to follow these very simple guidelines, you will be successful. What I call these things are the 6 criteria for success. Now, I get a pen or pencil or something. You might want to write these down if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You'll remember them. I'll review them anyways. Okay? So let's go over the 6 criterion for success. The first criterion is to be willing to do it for yourself. Sounds simple, self-evident, right? Well, it's trickier than you think. I want you to know that it's impossible for you to quit for someone else. You cannot stop for your husband, for your wife, or for your kids, by the way, or your doctor. There's a lot of reasons why this doesn't work. You know, for example, when I try to quit, I used to tell the whole freaking world Then, when everybody turned their backs or they weren't around, what do you think I did? You know what I did. I'd sneak one here, and I'd sneak one there. I started to act like everybody in the world that I told were my parents, and I was a kid. Why? Because I was acting like a kid. But eventually, everybody else knew. You see, becoming an ex-smoker results in you improving the quality of your life and adding value to your life. You can't do this for somebody else, because making this change has got to do with self-respect and self-esteem, and most important, for desire to have control of your life. The more you do it for you, by the way, the less pressure you're going to feel from the outside and the more motivated you'll be from the inside. In the second video, in session 2 of my course, I'm going to teach you how to create this personal self-motivation. So this time I recommend, when you take the program, don't tell anyone. Be willing to do it for yourself. You're the one that's important in this process. Criteria number 2, be willing to change your point of view. This is an important one. And the key word here, by the way, is willing. By the way, I define willingness as being willing to be willing when you're unwilling. Anybody can be willing when they're willing, right? Willingness comes when you're not willing and you do it anyways. So this one, be willing to change your point of view, is important and one of the hardest ones. It's important because, as you recall, there's 2 addictions, right? The physical and then the big one, mental. So get this, it's clearly important. There's only one reason you smoke. You smoke because of the way you think. That's right, it's the way you think. You see, over the years you smoked, you developed beliefs about why you smoked, about when you're going to quit, about how you're going to quit, about why you haven't quit, and why you can't quit now, what'll work for you and what won't work for you. Your beliefs, by the way, your point of view about quitting were what? They're false. What's the proof of that? Proof is that you're here. If you know what worked for you, you wouldn't be smoking and you wouldn't be here. You see, all of these beliefs were developed after you started smoking. So you develop these beliefs within a smoker's point of view. They're smoker's beliefs. I call them the smoker's mind. And these beliefs only helped you to continue to smoke, not to actually quit. Now here's the challenge. The problem is that when we believe something, we defend it, even though it may have nothing to do with reality. You know why? Because we love to be right and we hate to be wrong. So it's important to be willing to surrender in this process. Not to me, but to yourself. By acknowledging that you do not know how to quit and that you need some help. What also makes this hard is that your beliefs as a smoker to you seem true, even though they have nothing to do with the truth, nothing to do with reality. Let me demonstrate this, because I know your mind is going bonkers right now and saying, what is he talking about? Let me demonstrate how our beliefs are not always in line with the reality. This is kind of quick and it's fun. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, okay? First one I'm going to ask you is, and actually when I ask you a question, type in your answer in the chat box if you would. What color is the stop sign? Dum, 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 dum. Okay, I think maybe you all got that. Okay, now answer number 2, or question number 2, excuse me. What color is a yield sign? Go ahead, type it in. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, good. Now, if you're like most people, 99.9% of you said a stop sign was red. Perfect, absolutely got that one right. Now, the second one, 90% of you probably got the answer wrong. You probably said that a yield sign was yellow and black, didn't you? It looks like this, right? Wrong. Yield signs really look like this. They're really red and white triangles. You see, way back in 1987, the US government changed all yield signs. That's right, all of them. Not some of them, not just in some places. They changed all of them from yellow and black to red and white. See, the point here is that you have a belief that came out of your past that's got nothing to do with the reality. Yet most of you probably right now are saying, this guy's crazy. I know they're really yellow and black. That's a belief that's got nothing to do with reality. And if you try to reach a goal based on beliefs that are untrue, you're not going to reach your goal and you're not going to know why. you'll keep on banging your head against the wall. So this is why criteria number 2 is so critically important. Just like with this yield sign, be willing to change your point of view. And once you realize the truth and see what reality is, the process of becoming an ex-smoker will be easy. I promise you. Okay? Okay, good. So, criteria number 3. See if you're willing to do this one. Criteria number 3 says, be willing to stop proving that you're right in being unable to stop. Let me repeat that. Be willing to stop proving that you're right in not being able to stop. Now, what the heck do I mean by that? Well, when I was a smoker, I'd go ahead and stop for a couple days and start again and then say, see, I told you that now's not the right time. I told you I've been smoking too long. I told you I don't have the willpower. I told you I'm under too much stress. I've told you I've tried too many times. I told you that I couldn't stop. Sound familiar? Yeah, you bet. I promise you, we all have the power and the ability to stop as long as we're willing to start saying I can rather than I can't. You say it to your kids, right? Remember the little red train that went to the top of the hill? I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I know I can. The reality is you can. It doesn't matter how long you smoked. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried to quit. It doesn't matter how powerful you think you are. The reality is you can stop. And this time, and at this particular time rather, you just don't know how. And I will teach you how. That's what my job is going to be in this process. Criteria number 4. Be willing to see that your fear of failure is less significant than the incredible opportunity that you have in stopping smoking. There isn't a person who comes to this introduction who doesn't have some fear. You have fear that you're going to fail, or fear that you're going to succeed, or fear that this is a waste of time. Of course you have fear. Right now your self-image is that of a smoker, and you can't imagine what it's going to be like to be an ex-smoker. There's a guy by the name of Napoleon Hill. He was a great motivator. He said there's 2 kinds of people in the world. He said there's one who has fear and is successful, and one who just has fear. One who has fear and is successful, one who just has fear. Fear stands in the way of people not achieving success by not taking advantage of opportunities because of their fear. Let me ask you a question. What's the worst that could happen if you were to take the Living Free course and not succeed? The answer, of course, is you'd be right where you are, right now. The place you'd end up if you didn't try. Sometimes, someone who really wants to quit won't even try the program because they're afraid they might fail. Now, I'm sure you admit that this is really silly and it's self-defeating. Tonight, you're going to be faced with one of the most important moments of your life. If you like what we're saying here to you tonight, you're going to be faced with a choice to let fear be your enemy by robbing you and letting it rob you of the opportunity to end your slavery to cigarettes, or you can choose to be afraid and accept the fear of the unknown and register for the program anyways. If your intuition tells you that what we say makes sense here tonight, trash your fear this time. Don't let it stand in your way from freedom. The last 2 criteria sound very, very simple. They're very important, and they're really hard. Criteria number 5 says be willing to take responsibility for your actions. And criteria number 6 says be willing to tell the truth. To be willing to tell the truth. Responsibility and truth. The 2 most overused and misunderstood words in the English language. I used to think I knew what responsibility was until I tried to quit smoking. When I would smoke, I used to blame everything. My job, stress, family, my car, the dog. If this was all true, if these are all the reasons that I couldn't stop smoking, what would I have to do in order to quit? Of course you know the answer. I'd have to get rid of all those things, right? I'd have to get rid of the dog, the job, the kids, and so on. But then I'd probably smoke because of all that wasn't there. When we point our finger away from us, we give our power away. And when you give your power away, what's that leave you? It leaves us powerless. How do you feel when you feel powerless? Weak, insignificant, like a victim. The more that we can take responsibility, the more power we give ourselves. It's critical to be willing to take responsibility because it's not easy. People don't even know what it means. You see, there's lots of subtle ways and even abstract ways that we give our power away without even realizing it. In this program, I spend one entire session on this one word, on the word responsibility. I'm going to be showing you 6 different ways that you give your power away, not only relative to stopping smoking, but in your life in general. And how to be able to tap back into your soul and grab the natural power that you have within you to make this important change and any other change that you'd like to have occur in your life. I want to do a little survey right now so you can get more perspective on this. Because in criteria number 6 says be willing to tell the truth. So we're going to do a little truth survey. And actually the survey is going to be both about truth and responsibility. Now again, the key word here is being willing. Telling the truth is not easy. It's very, very hard because like with the yield sign, we often have no idea what it is. We think we know what reality is, but more often than not, it's our brains trick us into believing something when it really has nothing to do with reality. Again, let me demonstrate how tricky this can be. I'm going to ask you a few more simple questions. In fact, they're right here on your screen. Just type in the chat box if you happen to agree with me. Statement number 1 says, I don't want to smoke anymore. How many of you don't want to smoke anymore? If you don't want to smoke anymore, type me into the chat box. Okay, all right, answers coming in. All right, 10. All right, about 90% of you. Okay, question number 2. How many of you would like to be a non-smoker? Again, type it in if it applies to you. Go ahead, type it in. Okay, great, great. 15, 20. Not quite, but almost, about 85%. Question number 3. How would you like to get rid of the urge to smoke? How many of you would like to get rid of the urge to smoke? Go ahead and type it in. Wow, those came in fast. About 99% of you said that you would like to get rid of the urge to smoke. You know, I guess that some of you actually didn't vote on that one because just about everybody says that. Now, question number 4, the final question. I have the urge because I'm addicted. How many of you think that you have the urge to smoke because you're addicted? Go ahead, type it in. Okie doke, thank you very much. I appreciate you answering these questions. Why? Because I couldn't illustrate criteria number 5 and number 6 if you didn't answer them like you did. So again, thank you. So, be willing to take responsibility and tell the truth. The way you answer them, by the way, are a few of the reasons why you have had difficulty stopping smoking in the past. Additional success crushers. Let me illustrate. We're going to go ahead and take the last one first. The last question was, or statement was, we have the urge to smoke because we're addicted. Well, the truth is, you are addicted, but that's not why you have the urge to smoke. There's only one reason from the perspective of responsibility that you have the urge to smoke. You have the urge to smoke because you trained yourself to smoke. That's right. You're the source of the urge. It's got nothing to do with being addictive. Now, I know this is a little abstract. Okay, so again, we are addicted, but it's not why we have the urge. From the point of view of responsibility, we have the urge because many years ago, we trained ourselves to be a smoker. If we didn't teach ourselves to smoke, we wouldn't have the urge to smoke today. I mean, Chinese people never had the desire to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken until they trained themselves to eat it. Now they're all getting fat. So many, many times what we do is blame situations. For instance, he got me mad, I need a cigarette. The truth is, I like to smoke a cigarette because years ago I trained myself to smoke when I got mad. So, why is this important? Well, think about it. We look at the urge to smoke as this big unexplained monster when we're trying to quit. And the fact also is that when you have a desire to smoke when you're not quitting, it's no big thing, right? It only becomes a big thing when you're trying to quit. And the reality is the only reason you have that urge in the first place is because you trained yourself to smoke in all sorts of situations. Think about that for a second. That's why you have the urge to smoke. You trained yourself to be a smoker. What I will do is train you to become a person who does not give a damn whether they do or not. You have that power. And the first step is to take responsibility. The more we can take responsibility for our actions, the more power we give to ourselves. How do you feel when you feel powerful? Great, right? So why not have the process of stopping smoking be one in which you feel powerful. The statement number 3 said, our question was, who would like to get rid of the urge to smoke? Everyone said yes to this one. You know what? That's another success crusher. That's the problem. It's one of the 3 top success crushing moves, actually. Most courses and people who quit on their own try to get rid of the urge to smoke. Think about this. Every time you tried to quit smoking in the past, what was your goal? Your goal was to get rid of the urge, the desire, right? You threw away your cigarettes, you chewed gum, you took a shower, you snapped your wrist with a rubber band, anything to get rid of that desire. The truth is, and you're not going to like this, but the truth is you may always have the desire to smoke. Sorry to be the one that brings you the news, but the truth is that you may, from time to time, have the desire to smoke throughout the rest of your life. That's the truth. So that's why your efforts and wishes to get rid of your desire to smoke only work temporarily. You see, they work until you have the big bad urge again, like at a party or when you're with buddies who are smoking or you're alone. You have that big bad urge, you don't know how to deal with it, and what happens is you end up smoking again. The fact is, if you don't learn how to deal with the urge to smoke and reduce the importance of it to just the thought of smoking, you're going to start smoking again. So, at Living Free, what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to deal with the urge to smoke in a really, really positive way. It's going to blow your mind, actually, so that the emotion is no longer there, so that the desire to smoke is no different than any other desire that you may have during the day. Right now, the desire to smoke for you when you're trying to quit is significant, it's meaningful, it's this big, huge thing. It doesn't have to be that way. So how is that possible? Well, think about it. We have dozens of desires or wants every single day. You know, desire to go to the movies, desire to go to the beach, desire to meet somebody new, desire to have ice cream, etc. But these desires don't run your life, but your desire to smoke does, doesn't it? And what our goal is in this program is to teach you how to deal with these desires so that you can go anywhere, be happy, be sad, be bored, be upset, and know that smoking and tobacco and cigarettes just don't mean anything to you anymore. Isn't that what you want? Of course it is. That's called freedom. Truth number 2. I want to be a non-smoker. Well, sorry, bringing bad news again. You'll never be a non-smoker. It's too late. Becoming a non-smoker is like trying to become 10 years old again. You've had millions of experiences since you were 10 years old. You're going to get rid of those millions of experiences? Of course not. They're going to always be a part of your life. You've had thousands of experiences since you started smoking. Those experiences will always be a part of your life as well. So the best you can ever be is not a non-smoker. A non-smoker is a person who never smoked. The best that you'll be is what we call an ex-smoker. Now this may seem like semantics, but it isn't. And it's a very important aspect of the course. Okay, look at the board here. You were born a non-smoker. When you were born, you didn't give a damn about cigarettes, you didn't care about cigarettes, you never even had thoughts about cigarettes. And then you trained yourself to become a smoker, right? You lived like a smoker, you thought like a smoker, you did things that smokers did. The important thing to remember here is that smokers do not think like non-smokers. You think differently than a person who's never smoked before. And an ex-smoker does not think like a smoker and also does not think like a non-smoker. It's a whole new way of thinking. What is this new way of thinking? If you've never been an ex-smoker, you surely wouldn't know. So what happens is that you try to quit smoking and you use guts and willpower and determination and you become what I call a non-smoking smoker. You stop smoking, but you're still thinking like a smoker. And what happens after a period of time? You end up smoking again. I'm sure you can relate to this. So it's just like this. So what our goal is to teach you how to become an ex-smoker. Now, right now, you don't know what that is, right? It's just like a safe. If I have a safe in front of you and I say, go ahead and open the safe, you say, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to say, give me the combination. But if I don't give you that combination, what's it going to be like to open it? It's going to be tough unless you have a lot of dynamite in order to blow it apart. Right? But if I were to go ahead and give you the combination, what's it like then to open the safe? Really easy, right? Absolutely. So this is what I'm going to do during the program. Our objective in Living Lean is to teach you how to think like an ex-smoker and have it be just as natural as your thinking is now as a smoker. So that not smoking will be natural. Just like smoking for you now is natural, and just like before you ever started smoking, being a non-smoker was natural. We want you to be living free of tobacco, so it's a natural occurrence and experience in your life. Got it? Good. I hope that made sense to you. So you'll never be a non-smoker. The best is X, and this is what we're going to teach you how to do naturally. Question number 1. This is actually Success Crusher number 2, as far as importance is concerned. Question number 1 was, I don't want to smoke anymore. Oh, really? I'd say that's a bunch of El Toro poo-poo. You said you don't want to smoke anymore. Why don't you go outside and throw your cigarettes or your chew away? Just throw them in the garbage can. No more problem, right? Wrong. You knew that if you went ahead and threw your cigarettes away or your chew away, how long would it be before you actually wanted another cigarette? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour? Certainly a day at most. The truth is, you still want to smoke. Smokers want to smoke. And if you start this process of saying you don't want to smoke anymore, you're starting on a foundation that's very faulty. When you've tried to quit, if you say this, you've just committed Success Crusher number 2. So criteria number 6 is being willing to tell the truth. The truth is, you do want to smoke. So remember, it's important to acknowledge that truth. Truth is the foundation for change. It's like building a building on no foundation. It can be the prettiest building in the world, but without a strong foundation, the building will fall. So you want to start this training process with a solid foundation. I'm a smoker. Smokers like to smoke, just like hockey players like to play hockey. Well, I got a question for you now. If it's true that you still want to smoke, why are you here? Well, the reason that you're here has nothing to do with wanting to smoke. It has to do with something much greater than smoking. You see, we're like this little man. There's a part of you that wants to smoke and a part of you that wants to quit. Since we want both, smoking's not the issue. The reason that you're here has got to do with the results of smoking and the results of quitting. You see, smoking is an action. Quitting is an action. And like any action, there are results. If you choose the action of smoking, then what you're doing is choosing the consequences. You're choosing that lifestyle of a smoker. And for instance, these are some of the ones that people have shared with us, some of the consequences of smoking. You may have your own, but you're really choosing guilt, you're sneaking around, smelly clothes, heart problems, strokes, smelly car, embarrassment, loss of control, higher insurance rates, tired all the time, COPD, costs. We spend thousands of dollars on it. Now, what are the results of quitting? The results of quitting are called benefits. What are some of the benefits of becoming an ex-smoker? What are some of the results of quitting? Well, there's pride, there's self-respect, there's control over our lives. We'll have better circulation, less tension, be more active, have more peace of mind, better complexion, be able to save thousands of dollars a year. You'll have whiter teeth, fresher breath. You'll live a longer life, most likely. Actually, this is not about length of life. I think that's important. I think it's about quality of life. I think this is the real reason you've come here today, because of that part of you that wants to live a quality life and have freedom in your life. And the purpose of living free is for you to get these benefits, to get back your freedom and control, to get back your health, to save a ton of money, and to have the process be a positive experience. You see, we talk about longer life, but if we're not happy and healthy and living a life that's satisfying, fulfilling, do we really care how long we want to live? But on the other hand, if you're happy, if you're healthy, if you're energetic, if you're involved in life, if you're participating in a lot of levels, you're going to want to live for as long as you can. So again, The purpose of this program is for you to get these benefits and to get back your freedom and control, to get back your health, to get back the quality that you're looking for in your life. And yes, you do want to smoke. And yes, you do want to quit. But that's not the question. The real question is, which lifestyle do you want to live? That's the real question you need to ask yourself. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the lifestyle of the consequences or the lifestyle of the benefits? These are the real choices, the real consequences and benefits of smoking and quitting. I know the answer to that question, and so do you. But right now you're not certain that you can. I want you to know that you can, and I can guide you to freedom. Let's take a minute and talk about the value of the cost of these consequences and the value of these consequences. Every time you cough up 40 or 50 bucks on a carton of cigarettes, you're literally buying the consequences. You're buying this lifestyle. Let's take a look at the reality of the cost of smoking in terms of financial. Smoking's expensive, but when people consider the cost of smoking, they usually limit their focus to the cost of cigarettes they smoke. While the cost of cigarettes by themselves can add up to close to $2,200 a year, the reality is the cost of cigarettes is only a small portion of the overall monetary cost of smoking. Let me first of all show you a little bit about this by looking just at the cost of cigarettes. Right now, from what I understand, it says the cost of cigarettes are about $6 a pack. If you're smoking a pack a day, it's $2,190. The hidden costs, they say, are about $6,000 a year, and I'll go over those in a second. But that's over $8,000 a year. Over 10 years, without interest, that's $81,000. Let's say cigarettes go up 5% per year and you get 5% in the savings account. After 10 years, you'd be saving just on cigarettes alone over $14,000. So let's take a look at the hidden costs. You got life insurance, you got increased health insurance, you got the increase in health care, you have the cost of medications, you have homeowners insurance that cost more now, you have the value of your house. You know, smoking leaves a bad smell in the house and thus decreases the value. Car insurance, resale of the car, you earn less money. What about gas money just going to pick the cigarettes up? Cost of cleaning, whether it be your house or your car or your clothes. Dental care, smokers spend more on dental care and on special dental products than non-smokers. Again, and lost interest on all the money that you must spend that you could be saved. When all these items are added together, in addition to the cost of smoking a pack of cigarettes, again, the amount lost to smoking comes to over $8,000 a year. That's money that you could use to pay off credit card debt or put in the stock market to earn extra money. Even if you were to place it in the most conservative investment of a savings account, you know, you could still earn a few $100s a year on that money. Now, I know what some of your smokers' minds are saying, well, I don't have insurance, or I only pay $3 a pack of cigarettes, or I don't get my clothes cleaned. Well, cut it in half then. That's your kid's education over the next 4 years in a good state school, or $100,000 that you could have had for your retirement if you still smoke 20 years from now. But the insanity of it is look at what you're getting for it. The consequences, the lifestyle of being a smoker. If you register for my program, you'll not only quit smoking, but you'll also save a ton of money. Now, what I'd like to do is, you know these things, and I don't even know why I talk about money anymore because, you know, people are pretty honest about that nowadays. Now, I know you probably have a lot of questions at this point, but let me first review the most frequently asked questions that most people have at this point in the presentation. So I'm sure the first thing that comes up is, well, how does this thing work? How does the program work? Well, the Living Free program is a 10-session program. You take it online, similar to this, except that you will see me during the entire session. And I'll be having a conversation directly to you and the other people that are taking the course. It's an e-learning video course. It's highly interactive and personalized. It's kind of like learning how to swim. I teach you how to do the freestyle. Then I send you out to practice the day's lesson. Then in session 2, I teach you how to change your form a little bit so you can swim faster with the same effort. Then I'll send you into the pool. You go out and test it, and you swim a little bit faster, a little bit easier. And then you say, wow, if I had only known this before, it would have been so much easier. What's next, you ask? And so on. You know, and by session number 3, you'll be totally ready to enter into the race. Which usually brings up the next question. When do I quit? Well, during the introductory session, I'm going to ask you to pick your quit day, or as we call it, choice day. That'll be day of the video number 5. On that day, you'll be 100%, I mean it, 100% prepared and ready to choose to leave your cigarettes behind forever. In fact, you're actually going to be excited and feel more powerful about the possibilities than ever before. Another question, is there a schedule? Yep, we've got a schedule. We have a recommended schedule of a video every other day, but you can set it up to fit your lifestyle. Every session is about 20 minutes in length. It's not long like today's. But there is a commitment to time. Time and money are always the issues for people who never quit. I want to tell you something. All productive people, all successful people are busy. People who are successful in stopping smoking recognize this, and they don't wait for a convenient time because they know that there never will be a convenient time. They make this time convenient. This opportunity is present right now. Right? I'm sure that many of you who have failed several times are concerned about wasting time again. And let me assure you that your chances of success are great. The success rate for people who attend all 8 lessons is the highest in the nation, over 80% after 1 year. I'd like you to compare this with the 50 to 30% for other courses and 10% for people who stop on their own using the nicotine patch. Look at the results of the survey of over 240 some people who took the program last month. This was with a very large company. Overall, did the program help you meet your goal? Over 90% of the people, it did. Question number 2 in the survey was, are the Self-Help Works programs something that you would recommend to others? 231 people answered that question. And again, over 93% of the people said that they would recommend the program to their friends. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One is that the philosophy that you're going to learn in this program is totally different than anything that you've ever tried in your life. Secondly, you're going to be able to use what you've learned in all parts of your life. These are life principles you're going to be learning, not just principles to stop smoking. There's 2 parts to the program. The first part of the program, what I'm going to do is to teach you how to quit and have the process of quitting be fun and positive. And the second part of the program is to make sure that you stay stopped. So regarding support, you bet there's lots of it. Here are a few elements of support. First of all, there are sessions 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Lots of support that deals with everything from drinking with your buddies to having an argument with your spouse. Secondly, we have live weekly support groups that you can join for free and ask questions or just listen. Third is there are 13 audios that you can download to your phone to review the key concepts of the program, as well as to get support for now as well as in the future. You can listen to these support audios when you're walking, sitting around, doing nothing, or before you go to a party. We cover every single possible situation that you can think of. I want you to know something. Once you commit to this program, we commit to you. You can call us, you can email us to help you with any questions or any challenge that you're having anytime that you want. Living Free is the most comprehensive program for smokers anywhere. And all the support is included 100% in your tuition. So the next thing that usually comes up is, how much does the program cost? Okay, listen, I'm an ex-smoker. At one time I was seated where you are today, looking for a way to quit. I know you're afraid and that you're skeptical and you have doubts. I also know, that in your heart of hearts you would love to be living free of tobacco and nicotine and smoke and filters. I also know that you've got concerns. That's why I've made this program as safe and as easy as possible for you to take. The guarantee that we offer is very simple, and it's unheard of in our industry. It's this basic. If you don't quit, you don't pay. and I'll show you exactly how this works in a few minutes on the guarantee. First of all, I want to ask you, how much is your health worth? If you actually got all the benefits that we had listed up here, how much is that worth? I want you to know the program's a whole heck of a lot less than what your health is worth, or your satisfaction, or your self-esteem is worth. What if I said nothing? What if I said, just pay me the money that you save just on the cost of cigarettes in 1 year? Would that be a deal? You bet, and I'd take it. But I want you to know that living free is a lot less than that. For the average smoker, the cost is far less than what you spend on cigarettes alone in just 4 weeks. That's what I said. The actual tuition for the program is less than what you paid for your cigarettes last month. This is one of the few programs that you can take where you actually make a ton of money almost immediately. And in most cases, you'll have paid for the program from the money that you save before the program's even over. Recall that if you're an average smoker, back a day, you're spending about $2,190 just on the cigarettes alone, not including the hidden costs. Well, the program fee that includes unlimited review is $129. There's also a registration fee, $10. That's a total investment of $139 as compared to the $2,190 that you're spending on your cigarettes every year. $139, that's the cost of 2.5 cartons of cigarettes. You'll have paid for the program in 24 days. The only reason, by the way, that we can charge this ridiculously low tuition is because of the internet. Back in the day of live programs, the program fee was $525, and that was back in the 1980s. Your return on investment is $2,050 in savings in the first year, just on the cigarettes alone. Again, that doesn't count all of the hidden costs that you'll recapture. If what I talked about makes sense to you, I want to encourage you to click the register button right now. And if you do that right now, I'll waive the $10 registration fee in honor of you making a sound, risk-free, intelligent decision to improve the rest of your life for the cost of 21 days of tobacco. So click now, and I will, as I always have done, is guarantee it. Now, so you want to know about the guarantee. Okay. All right, here's the guarantee. Recall the program has got 10 sessions, right? Watch the 10 videos according to the schedule, and if you're still smoking, I'll return your 24 days of cigarette money, no questions asked. Just email me or call us, we'll return your money. In other words, if you don't quit, you don't pay. Will your drugstore refund the money that you spend on Nicorette or Chantix? Listen, I don't want your money if you don't quit. I'll say that again. I don't want your money if you don't quit. I want you to go out and tell your friends and tell your buddies about this ridiculous offer. Okay, one person just chatted. What happens if I start again? That makes sense. It's a good question. The second part of the program guarantee states this: if for any reason that you should start smoking again within the next year, you can review the program without paying a dime. So it's free. Get all the support, call us, use it to quit again. Hey Brandon, bring me back on the screen. Get rid of the PowerPoint.
All right.
Okay, thanks. Hey, listen, I know the price is always important. Time's always important. But since you spend more on cigarettes in a month than the price of the program, if you haven't clicked on the button yet, price can't be the issue. It can only be an excuse. And I say that with respect. Remember in the beginning of this webinar I mentioned that there were 4 steps to quitting smoking? I said that step 1 is thinking about it. That's easy. We've all thought about quitting so many times that it's ridiculous. I know you're in that situation as well. And step 2 was the harder one, acknowledging that you're addicted and you need some help. You've all passed that test. You're here. You're looking for some help. The third one, which I didn't go into too much, I said was the most difficult. And it's in these types of situations, like right now, when it really shows up. The third step in stopping smoking is to make a commitment to do whatever it takes to handle the smoking issue once and for all, and to stop putting it off, to stop spinning the wheels. Now I acknowledge that's not easy, and that's why only a small percentage of people who want to quit actually come to the webinar. I was a Sunday night quitter. I think I had mentioned that before. That was, and I want to tell you a story about this because it's really, really relevant right now, and I think it's relevant and important to you. Is that Sunday night was my night for quitting, and I had a lot of reasons to quit. I was spending almost $1,000 a year on cigarettes in those days, and plus all the related expenses, like burnt holes in clothes, my car was stinking, I'd get congested in the morning time, I'd often start the day coughing and hacking. I said I was going to stop smoking so many times that I no longer believed myself at all. My self-image was really small when it came to that. I felt like a loser when it came to cigarettes. Very few of my friends smoked anymore. I was embarrassed to go hang out with those that didn't smoke. And even in those days, a lot of my life was about hiding the fact that I smoked or justifying why I didn't quit. In the old days, you could even smoke in a restaurant. And so, you sit there in a chair and blow smoke over your shoulder so it wouldn't go all over the table with everyone else sitting there. Or you'd make an excuse and go outside just to get your smoke. I could go on and on. They were all great reasons to quit. But at any rate, when it came down to that Sunday night, my night for quitting, I told myself I would quit next Sunday. But when that next Sunday came along, I'd always make something more important than stopping. So I'd put it off to the following week. And I'd continue to do this week after week, year after year, until I finally realized something that for me was really profound, and I hope it is for you too. I realized that this number, this 52% that's on the board right now, this percentage, the percentage of my life that I smoked, and you've got your number, it represented more than the percentage of my life that I smoked. It represented the percentage of my life that tar, tobacco, smoke, paper, nicotine, and filters were the number one thing in my life. That's right, I said number one. I don't have a pack of cigarettes with me, but let's pretend this is. I held this pack of cigarettes above everything, and I mean above everything that I said was important in my life. I held it above my health, my family, my self-esteem, my friends, my personal happiness, my pride, my self-control, and money. I did. That's the truth of it all. And so do you. The percentage that's on this piece of paper over here represents the percentage of my life that I've given over my control to cigarettes. Cigarettes are number one for me, and they are for you too, at least until today. We'll see. But it's one of the hardest things for me ever in my life to admit, perhaps the hardest thing that I've ever had to admit. But once I did, I was no longer willing to be a slave anymore. That was the day that I made the commitment to do whatever I had to do to end this life of slavery, to become free once and for all of cigarettes. And as you know, for you to have come to this webinar today, it was necessary for you to acknowledge that cigarettes have ruled your life as well. And now to be successful, it's important for you to take some action, to take a step, to make a commitment to yourself that will make ending that slavery a priority. And once you make the commitment to yourself to stop putting it off, the rest is pretty easy. So go ahead, click it, click on the button. You and I promise you will become good friends. You'll call me or write me after the program and thank me for the difference that this program has made in your life. Take a chance on yourself today, and you'll remember this decision, this day, for the rest of your life. You're still here. Okay. Well, if you're still here listening to me, you're afraid of something. What it is that you're afraid of, I have no freaking idea at this point in time. And again, I say that respectively. And whether it's you're afraid of being successful, of getting healthy, of feeling free to breathe, without wondering if you smell from smoke, you have some sort of doubt and you have some sort of skepticism. And I'm sure you don't even know exactly what that is. If it is, let us know. Type it in. Tell us. And the doubt that you do have, that's why we have the guarantee. We don't want your doubts to stand in your way from finally being successful. Well, speaking of tuition, if affording the tuition is a concern for you, let me take that concern away. Maybe somebody else is paying for your cigarettes, I don't know. If you've got a genuine interest in improving the quality of your life through stopping smoking, and at this particular time have difficulty affording the tuition, if you click on the button within the next 30 seconds or so, I'll make sure that you'll be able to take the program. What I'll do is I'll divide the program tuition into 3 equal monthly payments of $47. That's 1 week of smoking if you're a pack a dayer. That's 1 week of cigarettes. So click on the button for your payment plan. Now, on the other hand, every once in a while somebody says, well, $139 seems pretty expensive. Well, for those who feel it's too expensive, perhaps you're putting too low of a value on the most important thing in your life. And I can't help you with that. Only you can put a dollar amount on the value of you, on your health, your freedom. And if you got self-doubt, if that's the problem, as I mentioned earlier, well, I'm an ex-smoker. I know about self-doubt. You came here because you'd really like to stop smoking. You came here looking for a way to do that, didn't you? I also know that there are 2 things that stood in my way whenever I got into situations like you're in tonight. I know there's a couple things that stood in my way from making and taking these important steps. The first one I call, I can't because I'm different syndrome. Now, everybody's different than I am. Each one of us is filled to one degree or another with self-doubt. For this reason, we look for something in our lives and that in our minds that sets us aside or makes us different than others. For instance, I'm too weak, or I smoke too much, or I've smoked too long, or I don't have any willpower like they do. I'm not as smart as the rest of them. I always get fat when I quit. I'm under too much stress. They don't know what my life's like. It's just boring and it's really the pits. Doesn't matter what it is. Bottom line, I would always say I can't because I'm different in some way than other people. Listen, I'll tell you something really clear in case you haven't realized. You're a human being, and all human beings have the power to change. We've all got that ability. You've got the power. You've got the ability. If you're willing to just change the I can't into I can, that's all it's going to take. Click on that freaking button. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried to quit. This program will work for you. Second item that stood in my ways was fear. Now I call it I wish I had syndrome. Sometimes referred to as if I only had syndrome. Almost 1.5 million smokers that are being treated for COPD or cardiovascular disease make that statement every single year. Are you going to be one of them? What keeps people from taking action on things they know that are going to help them? Doubt, fear of failure, skepticism. Remember, Napoleon Hill once said, the greatest motivators of all time, this guy was, he said there's 2 kinds of people. One person has fear and is successful, and the other just has fear. The latter lets their fear and doubts and skepticism justify for not having great lives, for not taking steps needed to attain the opportunities that life has got to offer. This is one of those opportunities. Believe me, it is. You will either let your fear and doubt stand in your way again, and then you'll be one of these people, perhaps, I hope not, a year or 2 years from now, boy, I wish I had taken advantage of that. Or you'll realize that you deserve to be free and never have to think about quitting again. Choice is up to you. I just want to say to all of you, thank you for being here. Again, you're brave people. It's been a pleasure being in front of you today. And I look forward to interacting with you again and hearing from you and hopefully getting your questions and supporting you during the Real Talk support sessions that we have that are live, in addition to you taking our program. Again, thanks for being here. Best of luck to you. Hope we see you soon.